Hey everyone, welcome to your Friday edition of The Nerve. We are still feeling the effects of our Irish wake for And Just Like That. We have updates that prove our theory of the case has been right all along. So we'll be sharing and discussing those. And we have just a great show for you today. I have to mention, a couple of hours ago, as we were prepping the show, we got a benediction of sorts, because outside of Nerve headquarters, guess what was right outside making ungodly amounts of noise? An actual wood chipper. An actual wood chipper. The noise was driving me so crazy. I went outside across the road and I was like, what is this? It was a wood chipper. I said, keep going. Keep going. Spirit animal. Okay. Or spirit machine, as it were, right? So let's take that as a sign from above. You know, our inaugural person was one Sarah Jessica Parker. And oh my God, if we don't have updates that are going to blow your mind about what she's up to. Also, we've got Kinsey Schofield of the Must Catch Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered pod. And she is here with a Sussex exclusive and lots of behind the scenes royal intel. Plus, we have celeb updates / mortifications, author Meg Josephson on her new book, which we are fascinated with over here. It's called Are You Mad at Me? Nonfiction. And all of you who resonated with Professor Sam's talk about growing up in difficult homes, you're going to love this segment. Plus, the best part of any given nerve, your emails and a woodshed update. So I want to introduce you guys to a favorite of mine. I've discussed them before, the Masa chips. Now, these chips taste markedly different than any other chip on the market. So here's the deal. Up until the 1990s, all chips and fries were cooked in beef tallow, not seed oils, because big companies figured out that seed oils are cheaper, but they're also highly processed. And now they make up 20% of the average American's daily calories. Are you kidding me? So that's why we here at The Nerve are excited to tell you about Masa chips, which uses beef tallow. They are doing things differently. And they're also made with just 3 ingredients: organic corn, sea salt, and again, the 100% grass-fed beef tallow. That's it. No seed oils, no junk. And let me tell you, they are so good. They are crunchier, they are tastier. And my ultimate test, they do not break apart in your guac. They leave you feeling light, satisfied, and energized. There's no crashing, there's no bloating. So Masa is what chips should be. Give yourself a treat. Taste the difference. You'll never go back. Masa chips are beloved by tens of thousands of customers, and they have been endorsed by industry-leading health and nutrition experts. If you are ready to give Masa a try, go to masachips.com/Maureen and use code Maureen for 25% off your first order. That's masachips.com/Maureen and code Maureen for 25% off your first order. Okay, first we want to begin on a solemn note. We want to offer our condolences here at The Nerve to Kelly Clarkson. On Thursday, it was announced that her ex-husband, Brandon Blackstock, passed away after a 3-year battle with cancer. They have 2 children together, an 11-year-old daughter, a 9-year-old son, and in March, Kelly stepped away from her eponymous daytime talk show for nearly 2 weeks. And she never said why, while, other celebs filled in for her. And she had only given personal reasons. And, this, I think, is kind of another reminder. We're all guilty of it in the media. We all do it. But it's reminiscent of when Catherine, Princess of Wales, disappeared for a while. And all those rumors went around and everybody was sort of agog. Where's Kate? Where's Kate? Turned out she was dealing with something very personal and serious, and same for Kelly. So our heartfelt condolences go out to her and her family. And we only hold the best for you. Okay. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. We begin with one of our favorite guests, Kinsey Schofield of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. You can find her on YouTube, and I am thrilled to appear on that show twice every month. If you haven't already, head over to Kinsey's YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe. She has got some of the best royal sources going. And today she is going to share with us at The Nerve some exclusive goings on at Camp Sussex, where it seems help is needed in more ways than one. Hi, Kinsey.
I haven't even told you everything because I wanted to see the look on your face when I shared some of these details with you.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Now, and I know the restraint that takes from you, because you love nothing more than shooting over like golden nuggets of
you
scandal.
Get midnight text. Oh, by the way, this happened. And this happened. Yeah. Well, yeah. So basically, I'll tell you that I have a source at a California employment company that told me that Harry and Meghan are looking for a new nanny. This is something that they've been struggling with for quite some time because there is a churn, which we've discussed in the past, of domestic help. And this nanny position is apparently especially hard. So we actually have that ad we can break down together.
Let's do it. I believe you behind my back perhaps got it somehow into the hands of my producers, because they mocked this thing up in Nerve style. So it's they Royal Pains need help in calligraphy. Montecito, California. Easy apply on LinkedIn? Question mark? We don't know. I will read said description, and then you tell me, Kinsey, your thoughts. This is your scoop, by the way. This is amazing. This is part of the ad. This is an extraordinary opportunity for a nanny who brings warmth, flexibility, discretion, and a true helping spirit to everything they do. Responsibilities include only the following: morning and evening routines, school drop-offs and pickups, the children's laundry and tidying of their spaces, coordinating play dates and after-school activities, managing the children's calendar, supporting with bath and bedtime as needed, flexibility 24/7.
Yeah.
Can you translate that to English for us, regular people speak?
I mean, I think it's like I might not actually ever see my children. You know, somebody else might be doing all the heavy lifting. But here, according to my source, the current nanny, because they say that they're keeping this current nanny that they've had for 5 years. They say that in this ad, Meghan mentions that they have had a full-time nanny for 5 years that's had a baby and wants to spend more time with the baby. This person's going to transition, allegedly Meghan, I should say. This person's going to transition to almost a house manager. And if you go back and listen to the Jamie Kern-Lima interview, Meghan Markle talks about having a nanny for 5 years. They say 5 years in this ad, that she absolutely loves. My sources tell me that this current nanny of 5 years has been trying to transition to house manager forever, but they keep bringing her, so she can't. Once the agency, listen to this, once the agency creates a list of potential hires, you meet with that nanny. Then you have to meet with another one of Meghan's assistants. These are two separate auditions, interviews, but auditions. Then auditions for, you'll understand why in a second. Then you sign an NDA, which grants you access to Harry and Meghan. So this is the third interview. The agency has specifically been instructed to hide Harry and Meghan's identity from the applicant, but does not do that because of Meghan's reputation. So they whisper to the nanny, guess who you're about to meet? You know, they just want to make sure you're comfortable working with Meghan because of her reputation. So the nanny has to pretend that she is surprised when she meets Harry and Meghan. She has to go, I mean, can you believe that? She has to pretend she didn't know who she was talking to because the agency has been instructed not to tell the person that it's Harry and Meghan that they're potentially meeting with.
You know, now that Meghan is desperately trying to get Netflix to bite on any idea that she possibly has, make this the reality show.
100%.
Make this half the Hunger Games, half of like, you know, what her briefcase game, right? What's behind, like which employer is behind this door?
Yeah.
I love the idea, first of all, that the this nanny's been trying to get out of the gig for 5 years, about as long as she's had it, allegedly. I love this notion that a woman who's just given birth to a newborn is going to take on the easier job of managing the entire household. That makes a lot of sense, Meghan. Thirdly,
go ahead.
Just one thing. I picture The Search for a Nanny as like the poem My Last Duchess. Do you know that poem?
No, please.
Well, it's an aristocratic man who is showing his latest young love interest portraits of My Last Duchess. And the implication is there are like 10 last duchesses and each one was like murdered and is hidden up in the attic somewhere. So you're going to be the next duchess that's the last duchess. And I didn't even put together that I'm talking about a duchess, but it's all full circle. So I'm sorry. Go on.
It's my understanding that this nanny is just like Meghan and that they love each other and they're clones of each other. So hide your kids, hide your wife. Like if that's something you can deal with and this person would be managing you, then go forth. We wish you Godspeed. We wish you the best of luck. But I think that sounds like an absolute nightmare from Hades. And don't forget, a few weeks ago, I told you about the insider that worked for Meghan and has worked for Meghan since she moved to California. And they said, I spent a lot of time with Meghan. The way she treated me can only be described as dehumanizing. So I do think that we are seeing a cycle much worse than we actually report in the mainstream when it comes to Harry and Meghan's employees.
I'm just going to put it out there again for any refugees from Camp Montecito, NDAs or not, we will hide your identities, like you're a thief in the night. You can come over here. There will be a book done someday about just, I mean, she's going to make Joan Crawford look like Mother Teresa,
No wire hangers.
No, I don't even think any velvet lined hangers,
No,
I don't know what the next level up is. But it's been quite a week for these two. I mean, Kinsey, I'm so happy you're here because, first of all, we've learned this week that her second launch of her wine is a failure, her As Ever wine. It has yet to sell out. And these bottles contain less alcohol than the original launch did. Secondly, her 44th birthday went by with really not much fanfare except for an As Ever social media post saluting the woman behind it all, who does it all again, if by darkening all of our psychological doorsteps. Sure. Harry was made the announcement that he had resigned. I think, again, code, just my opinion, code for shown the door, from Sentebale, the charity he co-founded in memory of his mother. The name in English translates to forget me not, and it seems that they want to forget him as quickly as possible. Of course, his camp issued a statement saying, that Harry was, in sum and substance, my paraphrasing, aggrieved, couldn't believe he's the latest victim of this latest injustice, and he still wants to get back in with the royals. Did I cover everything?
I feel like you did a pretty solid job. I mean, the Charity Commission, when it came to the Sentebale investigation, said, look, both parties did a terrible job here of allowing this war to spill into the media. But Harry threw the first punch. Don't forget, it was Harry that ran to the Times and said, it's almost as if he was trying, this was a strategy to try, and they've done this before. Samantha Markle's taking Meghan to court. I think it's September 9th, because she says that they've done this to them. They try to discredit people in the media so that the media won't listen to them in the future. So Harry, according to Samantha Markle, Meghan's half-sister. So Harry went to the Times and said, Dr. Sophie Shandaka has done an awful job. I have no other, there's nothing I can do but step down. This is months ago. And Dr. Sophie Shandaka said, all right, in response to that, I'm going to do the media rounds and I'm going to tell everyone about all of the threatening text messages you sent me regarding your wife, Meghan Markle, allegedly. I'm going to talk about how I had planned a very smooth running polo charity event that you hijacked by bringing on Netflix cameras. So I had to find a completely different venue. Your wife tells me she's not coming, shows up on the arm of Serena Williams. Absolute havoc is wreaked on this charity event. And Dr. Sophie Shandaka does the media rounds too. And the Charity Commission says, hey, we can't investigate individual accusations of bullying. So do we see bullying and racism as a whole? No, we don't see that. But Dr. Sophie Shandaka said, that's fine, because I'm going to find an investigator that will tell you that Prince Harry and his team and his group were bullies to me. She feels like they were racist. She's accused them of racism in some way.
I love it.
Yeah. And so this isn't over. She's saying, I'm going to continue with this investigation. If the Charity Commission won't do it, then I will find somebody that will, and will clear me and will potentially hold him accountable.
Well, I wanted to transition from the Sussexes seeking help, which I think applies in more ways than one, to another nerve target who I believe really does need to seek professional help, and that is one Sarah Jessica Parker. Much as Meghan Markle has allegedly, reportedly been shown the door by Netflix, when it was announced on Friday of last week, so 1 week ago today, and just like that had been canceled, Sarah and her showrunner, Michael Patrick King, put these ornate pronouncements onto their social media. In Michael Patrick King's case, HBO Max's official site, basically framing this as their own auto-generated decision, their creative decision that they had told all the story they could, and now was the time to wrap up. Until in comes reports. This one from Radar, the headline, I die. Seething. Okay, first of all, I believe this source is Sarah Jessica Parker. Just look at the headline. SATC icon. Sarah Jessica Parker fumes over, and just like that, cancellation. Quote, after all the money she made them, the money, quote, they told her it was being canceled, quote, but it wasn't a conversation. A top source, SJP, my opinion, tells Rob Shooter it was, we're done. No discussion, no collaboration, just final. And Parker was blindsided. Again, what kind of creative genius can you be if you're blindsided by this? According to Rob Shooter, Parker had already started working on storylines and casting for the show's 4th season, as surmised here at The Nerve. Quote, she thought they were building something long term. HBO is still like, we've had enough. Thank you. Goodbye. A following Radar report says she's not giving up. She's pitching everything from a spinoff to a limited series over at Netflix and Amazon. I don't know how HBO doesn't own this IP. The quote, she's turning heartbreak into hustle, which is another, adaptation of one of my least favorite phrases in the culture, pain into purpose.
Oh,
Kinsey,
my God.
You got it. We haven't talked about this at all. So I need to know all of your thoughts on this just debacle for the ages.
Well, first of all, you're so right. Heartbreak into hustle is such a mechanism that I puked in my mouth the second it came out of yours. Look, I think that HBO is actually pretty savvy when it comes to listening to the audience and reacting. The Gilded Age accidentally aired in Spanish last week, and all of their social media was about how they'd messed up. When they changed back from HBO Max to HBO, they acknowledged that they'd screwed up pretty badly. In a recent interview with SJP, she said, Kristen Davis tries to tell me what you guys are saying about the show on social media. She tries to tell me about the memes, and I tell her, shut up. I don't want to hear that stuff.
I don't believe her.
I mean, can you believe that? But
no, I don't believe her. The woman who posted a 3-minute obit to herself and her psychologically entwined, enmeshed psycho character, Carrie Bradshaw, 3 minutes on Instagram. Okay. You're telling me this woman, look at her face. It's snatched to within an inch of her life. She doesn't follow her own press. She gave an interview to The New Yorker, which we went through the other day. It was like a 31-page profile. She had the profiler, the journalist, Rachel Syme, come up to the editing booth with her and Michael Patrick King, where they were going over every single frame of the forthcoming episode with forensic eyes, like they were examining a crime scene. But SJP, oh no, I don't look at anything. I have no ego. I don't look. I don't listen. Get
Well,
out.
she was saying she didn't listen to the online negativity, or she doesn't want to see the online comments, the online negativity about it. And to that, I'd say kind of screw you. You've allowed us into these characters' lives for decades. We fell in love with them. We are invested in them, or were. I couldn't sit through this show. I'd rather die in a fire. But I loved Sex in the City. Of course, I had the Carrie Kinsey necklace. I was so the Patricia Field everything. I think that that's so offensive to say you're not going to listen to the audience and you don't care what the audience truly thinks. They were aware that we loathed this reboot, and SJP says she didn't care. She was happy with the direction it was taking. It was foul. It wasn't even fun at all. They were jokes of themselves. And yeah, I agree with you that this came out of nowhere, and that she probably had no idea this was coming, because she's just delusional.
I mean, I didn't think it was coming simply because it lasted this long, and there are so many eyeballs just involved in hate watching. I mean, we hate watch and recap every week on The Nerve, and
It's the only way I know what's going on that show is what you tell me happened.
but the response is always the same. Oh my God, like I hate the show too, from all of our audience. Like I either don't watch or I hate the show, but the recaps are fun because it's an epic hate watch. And I really thought HBO was just going to keep going with the eyeballs and the headlines rather than do the correct culturally responsible thing, the artistically responsible thing, and take it out back and shoot it. And it does go to show you how delusional Sarah Jessica Parker is. I mean, she thinks that these storylines, in which most recently a gay man from Britain who is 80 times the writer that she is, was just falling at her feet. Yeah. And all of the men of Manhattan were falling at her feet. And she ran around looking like a bar wench, our favorite sprightly 900-year-old heroine. And she thought this was fantastic. She thinks this is her highest, I think, form of self-actualization. Like, you gotta wonder how many bats are in the belfry up in that head of hers.
She was starting to look like her character in Hocus Pocus, and she's supposed to be this huge sex pot. And I'm like, you look like one of the Sanderson sisters, girlfriend. You're like, what happened to that cute ass tutu? But yeah, no, I agree with you. It was so defeating as somebody that watched the show. You wanted these women to grow up and be taking on the world, and they were just puddles of themselves. It was just completely defeating, and it was a waste of time and creativity. I mean, the writers should be so ashamed of themselves.
Well, I do think that I think Michael Patrick King is a huge misogynist, and he was getting off on putting his actresses into these humiliating scenarios, such as Kristen Davis, who is the prettiest of the bunch and the most elegant, being forced to take a pratfall into a condom filled with ejaculate as part of an art exhibit. Like that to me, I mean, I needed no further proof after that. I'd always suspected it. And Sarah Jessica Parker, this idea that she's running around town going, this thing's viable. Like, here's what would have been it. First of all, they stacked the writer's room. It was DEI front to back. And then the show went woke, right? Mm-hmm. And it was Che Diaz and all of this stuff, and the humor came out of it. But I think a far more realistic, I would have put Carrie back at square one. Big doesn't die. He divorces her or she divorces him because he's all over Page 6 with a billion like young influencers. Okay. And he knocks one of them up. And then she finds out that his finances are a house of cards. And then maybe if she wants her BFF Andy Cohen to have a cameo, he can play himself trying to convince her to join Real Housewives of New York City. And then she has to move back in penury to her 5th floor walk up. And she realizes that she was never a writer, but merely just like kind of a sad it girl on the scene. And she's aged out. And what does she do as the rest of her far more successful, emotionally mature friends ease into retirement with well-funded 401ks and active interests in things beyond themselves? That's my elevator pitch for a season 1 arc.
Yeah. And can Miranda not be a lesbian? I love Steve.
They turned Steve into suddenly he became this developmentally delayed, emotionally stunted, hard of hearing eunuch. And, again, it was like the ego, like, I can't believe these women made 10 million per season.
Oh my gosh. And then you've got Steve always reminded me of Joey McIntyre. Why couldn't have Joey McIntyre from NKOTB come and been, Steve's brother for an episode or two? Carrie falls in love with Steve's hot NKOTB brother. Yeah, there's just so many opportunities.
He could have been very interesting casting as Steve's secret love child.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that. The Kim Cattrall of it all too, before we move on is, and we will be revisiting, I'm sure, because this is not going away anytime soon, despite our funeral, that cadaver, it's like a horror movie. It's actually alive. We thought it, so Kim Cattrall reportedly was done from the beginning of whenever SJP was trying to animate Sex and the City 3 as a film. But the storyline that they had proposed to her, in all seriousness, reportedly, allegedly, was that Miranda's then teenage son, Brady, begins sexting Kim Cattrall's Samantha, and Samantha doesn't really have a problem with it.
Ew. No, there's no way. I would have been so livid too. The way that they've all just tried to dismiss her and act like she didn't exist when I was always like, maybe not slutty like Samantha, but definitely funny like Samantha. I was the Samantha without, being on my back. But we all had our who we are in the group, and Samantha was my favorite. So to try to watch the way that even in real life, they completely pretend she doesn't exist is so vile. It's just so offensive. And she'd be better than that. She'd be living her best life today. She wouldn't need some gross teenage boy. Ugh, he's just so hideous.
She would never. But it just goes to the way they kept trying to assassinate her character. And I think, Kim Cattrall, if I'm her, I'm taking all of that as just further proof of how inflamed with jealousy SJP and her mean girl minions were with Samantha's / Kim's gifts and her popularity and the warmth and vivacity and humor she brought to that show that could have very easily, I was never a huge Sex and the City fan myself. I really didn't, I hate watched it, but Kim Cattrall really took what could have been a one-dimensional character and gave her 3 dimensions and a lot of heart and a lot of soul. And she turned that character from an archetype into like a living, breathing, sensitive human being. And I think she's seeing the end result of that play out. The fans still love her. They love her.
And we're disappointed. And yeah, my favorite, I can't remember the exact line, but my favorite Samantha line was like, I don't like the Republican Party or the Democrat Party. I just like to party. And I was like, yes.
That's a true New York woman. So the last story I want to get to, which is Schadenfreude for the soul. There is a big report came out in the New York Post this week and elsewhere. Now the Paramount Skydance merger has gone through. Flop of the morning. It looks like Gayle King, astronaut though she may be, it looks like she's next on the chopping block over at CBS, where she re-upped not too long ago for between $13 and $15 million to take her just through May. Through May. Kinsey, I'm so interested in your take on how these figures, these personalities, especially in morning TV, the morning show's about to begin again on Apple TV, and we're going to be taking that apart. Gayle King, explain her to me. She, aside from the connection to her platonic friend Oprah, this woman is not the most pleasing to see first thing in the morning, nor is she the most pleasing to look at. She is a scold. She is humorless. She loves to correct her 2 male co-hosts. I love Tony DeCopel because he's the only one who takes it to her. And for what? What is she? And she's got ratings are just plummeting. They're going through the floor.
Yeah. Did you see that they were banking on this morally questionable space trip to take CBS into, higher ratings? They were like, okay, she's getting this free trip to go into space with Jeff Bezos and co, which as a journalist, we would say, absolutely not. I cannot do that. But CBS they allowed it to happen because they were allegedly banking on this sending the ratings into space themselves. And there was a blimp, barely a blimp, and then back to being number 3. I know you say let's just exclude the Oprah Winfrey of it all, but the reality is R. Kelly, who else was it? There are certain people that only are sitting down with Gayle King because of the Oprah of it all. The only reason that Gayle King can go on her morning show and tell secrets about Meghan Markle and Harry, which he has done in the past, is because of the Oprah of it all. I think Oprah is her biggest and only asset. But otherwise, she has no sense of humor. She's joyless, and she seems kind of bitchy. I don't enjoy watching her. I wouldn't watch her. I think that the only reason we give her the time of day is her proximity to her best friend.
I agree. I would add to that. I don't think she's very bright. I don't think she's bright at all. I think her ego is oversized to her degree of talent, which is minimal at best. I'm being very generous. And I think sooner rather than later that Oprah may become, as we just saw with the attempts of Hawaiians on Maui to evacuate responsibly, and Oprah, as we did the reporting, we showed the fact she did not open her road immediately. Her private road. It's a coastal evacuation route. I think Oprah's going to become a liability sooner rather than later. I do.
Yeah. I mean, she's 3 seconds away from being officially markled, but I think anybody that has given Harry and Meghan a platform lately are looking pretty bruised today. Tyler Perry, Jess Mulroney, who just announced her divorce from Ben. So yeah, I think that Oprah's probably on the chopping block here pretty soon.
Well, we at The Nerve, we just inaugurated our wood chipper. We're going to get our guillotine warmed up for the big O. Thank you for joining us, Kinsey. It's always so much fun talking to you.
Thank you. Next
up, we are going to do a quick celeb little wrap up. Well, we're also going to debut the Kennedy wing of the woodshed, Troublemaker Jennifer. She went through several versions. She is a perfectionist nonpareil. So we're going to debut that and then talk a little Aussie and then your emails. Back in a minute. We've all had days when skin feels dull, hydration doesn't stick, and energy is all over the place, and no amount of water, skincare, or coffee seems to help. That's where Peak's Radiant Skin Duo comes to the rescue, and this product has been a game changer. It's a doctor-recommended formulation trusted by experts like Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Jason Fung, and Dr. Will Cole. It supports whole body wellness from the inside out, and with over 15,000 5-star reviews, it's clear this product delivers. Here's why it works. Sun Goddess Matcha provides steady, calm energy throughout the day, no jitters. It's packed with L-theanine for focus and EGCG antioxidants, supporting skin clarity and gut health because great skin starts from within. BT Fountain electrolytes hydrate like nothing else. Even with plenty of water, many of us can still feel dehydrated. The difference here are clinically proven ceramides that lock moisture into the skin at a cellular level, leaving it plump, fresh, and glowing. Purity matters. Peak's quadruple toxin screening ensures all ingredients are free from heavy metals, pesticides, and mold. Just clean, science-backed hydration and energy. So say goodbye to fatigue, dry skin, and energy crashes. Ready for healthier hydration? Get 20% off plus a free frother and glass beaker at peaklife.com/thenerve. Again, that's peaklife.com/thenerve. We are back. Troublemakers, we have breaking news. The new wing of the woodshed has been completed. Yes, in time for the forthcoming 3-part JFK Jr. doc on CNN. Our Kennedy wing has been completed and we are opening it for business. Take a look at what Jennifer has put together, okay? This wing has it all. It's got Ted Kennedy in a bath towel. his head wrapped in another towel to dry himself off after plummeting his car into the waters at Chappaquiddick, 3 feet deep, leaving poor Mary Jo Kopechne to die a long, painful death. We've got Bobby Kennedy Jr. and his sex diaries. We've got JFK and Marilyn. We've got JFK Jr., the himbo himself with George Magazine. We've got Jack Schlossberg and Mommy Caroline opening the next please room in that wing. We have got our beloved Rosemary Kennedy, who has a place of honor forever in our wing. And yours truly is standing guard. I've got a bird in my hat. I don't know why. Jennifer loved it. I said, I think it's weird, but I kind of love it because it's so weird. Holding my book, Ask Not, The Kennedys and the Women They Destroyed. And behind me, underneath an American flag, is one Teddy Van Halen, my guard dog, who rivals SEAL Team 6's Cairo at the Osama bin Laden raid. So we will be visiting that surely on Tuesday's Nerve when we take apart the first part of that CNN doc. Okay. And by the way, the Daily Mail published a bombshell report on Wednesday that I fully believe. I fully believe this because I had read a well-sourced account from a named acquaintance of JFK Jr. who said on the record, JFK Jr. admitted to me that he was blackmailed into showing support for his cousin, William Kennedy Smith, and being photographed with his cousin exiting the courthouse while Kennedy Smith was on trial for rape. And Jr. didn't want to do it, and his mother wanted him nowhere near it. She wouldn't go anywhere near that thing. She knew. Allegedly, she knew. But apparently, reportedly, Ted, the lion of the Senate, Ted Kennedy, threatened Jr. with telling the entire world's media that Jr. was gay unless he attended this trial. It tracks. It tracks. Also, I want to address a tragedy out here on the east end of Long Island. It was the front page of yesterday's New York Post, Montauk Mystery. A young, beautiful, accomplished Irish immigrant named Martha Nolan O'Slatera, 33 years old. She was found dead in a boat docked at the Lux Montauk Yacht Club. And as of today, her case is still being investigated. So far, there is no evidence of foul play, though police have not ruled that out. We mention this story because this is a tragic cautionary tale that goes to everything we're about here at The Nerve. Do not buy into what you see, hear, and read on social media or in the press about how the Hamptons are. It's nothing like what you see in the TV. Sorry, in TV. What am I, 80 years old? In the movies and TV. Yes, the natural beauty is unparalleled. And yes, if you're out here for the right reasons, it can be an oasis. It can be everything you need for your soul. But there are way too many people out here in the summertime who come here for all the wrong reasons. They are looking to compete as to who has the most money, the most drugs, the best drugs, who has the most powerful, famous friends, who can have the most decadent time, the wildest time, the best social media posts. None of this ever ends well. Trust me, it never ends well. And we don't know what happened to Martha, but what goes on over at that yacht club, it's just partying all day, all night, from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And it can be a dark scene. It can be a dark scene. And she seemed like she was a real light in the world. So our sincere condolences again go out to Martha's family, her friends, and her colleagues. Now, on to your emails. And we are going to begin with an insider's tribute to Ozzy. You know, he's the cover of People magazine. And a few episodes back, Bill from Brooklyn was on, and we were talking about Ozzy and his legacy. And I was talking about, my difficulty getting past Ozzy's abuse of animals. I have, when it comes to animals, that's a red line for me. And Bill from Brooklyn was saying, yeah, I agree with you, but Ozzy did give us so much as an artist. And we all did have a relationship with him, parasocial relationship, but his art meant a lot to so many of us. And when these people go, a little part of you goes. And to that point, I got a wonderful email from a troublemaker who goes by Ian. It all tracks. It all sounds real. He's writing from the UK. Loves our mission statement here at The Nerve, real talk about fake people. I wanted to say a few words about Ozzy. I'd been a friend of his and Sharon's for over 40 years. I had no business involvement, nor did I particularly like his music. I met him through a mutual friend. He was an extremely warm, generous, gentle, kind, honest, down-to-earth, and open-hearted guy. He also possessed the most amazing sense of humor and was a wonderfully dry raconteur. He was deeply lovable and endearing, which is why there is such an outpouring of emotion. He was most definitely not a psychopath. He did think it was a toy bat. Unfortunately, he was plagued by his addictions and did many, many crazy things as a result. The reason he was always forgiven, including his attempt to strangle Sharon in a blackout, was because he experienced immense remorse and genuine regret for his insane actions. Before you think I'm excusing his attack or downplaying it, I know of a recovering alcoholic who killed a police officer in a blackout and has absolutely zero memory of this. I have been clean, Ian's talking about himself, clean and sober for over 25 years and look back on some of my past behavior with disgust and despair. Everyone who knew Ozzy well loved him very much, as is obvious from the countless tributes paid to him. The Prince of Darkness bullshit was a theatrical act. Pat Boone has just suggested he should have been known as the Prince of Kindness. Ozzy told me that they were neighbors for a time and that Pat was, quote, the nicest fucking guy on the planet, bar none. For what it's worth, I just felt like I'd like to defend Ozzy as best as I could. We take this to heart, Ian, and really love you writing. This is a beautiful email. He signs off, more power to you, especially when you're attacking Bill Maher and Oprah. Yes. Keep digging into the ladder. There are some horror stories to be unearthed. Look into the school in South Africa. Trust me, we are. It's going to be a long investigation, but we're doing it. Maureen, this is from yours in troublemaking, Jennifer Sampson, our house artist of the Kennedy Wing. She loved our takedown of AGLT. She has a Sarah Jessica Parker story. I attended the Directors Guild Awards in 2000 when Ang Lee, one of my favorite directors, won for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. SJP was seated at a table just in front of ours, closer to the stage. She was in my constant view. She never stopped moving. Leg shaking, checking her clothes, her bra strap, fidgeting in her seat, her hair, back to the bra strap. It was so distracting, and she really seemed like she was on something. She didn't touch her plate, of course, or engage with anyone at her table, none of whom were her level of celebrity. My guess is she felt she deserved to be much closer to the stage with the A-listers. I was starstruck when I first saw her, but soon wanted to head over and teach her some manners, Oklahoma style. The story about SJP and jeans and an old shirt to meet that New Yorker reporter and attend the ballet is so telling. I was fuming. It's like she's always angling to get the most attention and assert her superiority under the guise of sweetness and preciousness. Gross. Here's my last little nugget. This is so good, you guys. I dated Faye Dunaway's nephew, and he said, oh, this is alleged. I knew Matthew Broderick back in LA when he was gay. Give Teddy a squeeze for me. You got it. Again, allegedly, vis-a-vis Matthew Broderick. Hi, Maureen. Regarding the mini nerve of JFK Jr., I worked at a top ad agency in NYC in the 1990s. My client was a major credit card company. My job was to spend the media budget, and George, JFK Jr.'s failure of a magazine, came calling. I remember the launch thinking, what a stupid name, but I thought maybe I was the dumb one because I didn't get the joke because the media was telling you and all of us that he was a genius and it was great. We did advertise in George because everyone wanted to be a part of something created by someone who was, quote, special. I had the opportunity to meet JFK Jr. Yes, he was hot. We all agree. That's empirical. But he was also dull and boring. The ad pages soon started to dwindle. I never did read a full issue of George because, like its founder, it was dull and boring. And thank you for mentioning Carolyn had a cocaine problem. The mainstream media would have everyone believe she was an ethereal, captivating, mysterious woman who won the heart of America's prince. A friend who worked at George would often tell me that Carolyn would storm into that office, obviously high, and raise holy hell. I can just see her with her long camel hair, Calvin Klein coat trailing behind her. Maureen, she loves the show, that we use, a larger vocabulary. She's a former teacher. She loves it. On today's Nerve, you said you wouldn't call yourself a ballet dancer. But Maureen, why not? You're an astronaut now. Why not be a ballet dancer too? Perhaps it'll go in the Instagram bio. Okay, 2 hour, and just like that, breakdown of the scene in which the Duncan character goes into Carrie's secret closet and says, "Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle," and picks up one of her silvery, sparkly shoes and goes, "Oh, hello, look at her." And I said, listen, this is a gay man, friend of Dorothy, coded all day long. From Troublemaker Amy, Maureen, in the original book, I believe the shoes were silver. And I got so many emails about this that, yes, in the book, The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy's shoes were silver. In the film, they were changed to red to pop in Technicolor against the yellow brick road. But someone on that writing staff, you know what? It's not the writing staff. I'm going to tell you, it was the wardrobe department. They got the subtext in. They're making it a little bit more interesting for those of us with a few brain cells to rub together. Okay, finally, Maureen, NerveCon in Las Vegas. You're my favorite astronaut. Thank you. I won't tell Gayle. Please host a Nerve convention in Las Vegas and have Billy Joel join you. That would be a dream from your lips, right? From your number one Las Vegas troublemaker. We are talking about a live event and getting it going. I don't know that it will be Vegas, but we are having active discussions. Some of you are going to take that apart and say, Maureen, discussions are active. You're right. You're right. Stand corrected. Okay. It's all great stuff. Keep it up. Keep it coming, you guys. Remember to like, subscribe, spread the word. Let's keep growing our troublemaker community. Everyone who has come on board is just adding so much in terms of the way the show is being written and what we're building. And I think we're going to do a guillotine. I do. I think we're going to do a guillotine. As always, email me at maureen@devilmaycaremedia.com, DM me on Instagram at Maureen Callahan Writer or at The Nerve Show. And up next, I will be joined by Meg Josephson to discuss her new book, Are You Mad at Me? See you in a minute. Are you looking to support more made in the USA manufacturing this year? Whether it's home decor, clothing, or furniture, it's become extremely difficult to find high-quality products that aren't made overseas. A recent Forbes report revealed that annual earnings for small businesses across the U.S. have dropped by over 75% since 2023. Small businesses in this country are really struggling to stay afloat, and with the likes of Amazon and Target dominating the market, of course they're struggling. That's where a warehouse comes in. This is your one-stop shop for artisanal, one-of-a-kind home goods. With hundreds of products to choose from, this company is deeply committed to supporting American manufacturers. Their easy-to-navigate online marketplace lets you browse a wide range of independent makers. And you can feel great knowing that your hard-earned money is supporting real people who are upholding transparent and ethical business practices. A warehouse believes that true luxury isn't about fancy labels or big brand names. It's about the dedication, creativity, and care that goes into every product. I have a candle from a warehouse and I love it. It's so high quality. It burns so clean and fresh. And I can't endorse it enough. So help a warehouse hit their goal of supporting over 100 small businesses this year alone. Head to a warehouseshop.com and use code THENERVE for 15% off your first order. That's a warehouseshop.com, code THENERVE. Meg Josephson is a licensed psychotherapist with a master's from Columbia University. She specializes in trauma-informed care. Her debut book, Are You Mad at Me?, which is out now, covers a trait that she labels fawning, a survival mechanism developed by children who are raised in difficult homes. Some of us at the Nerve know something about that. And this is an adaptation that they often carry well into adulthood, perhaps without even realizing it. So this is Meg's book, which we got an early copy of, Are You Mad at Me? And she joins us now to discuss this and what an adult child perhaps can do to heal this response, this trauma response, really, that almost just becomes a hardwired way of moving through the world. So, Meg, welcome to the Nerve.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Of course. Great. I want to begin with, in researching this before talking to you, it occurred to me that there are some very highly, highly successful people who nonetheless identify themselves as people pleasers. One being Beyonce, who in 2023 said, I spent so much of my life as a serial people pleaser. Jennifer Lawrence said that she, well into her film career, was a people pleaser to the point that she said yes to projects just so as to not disappoint anybody who asked her, that she made a mistake in her career. Yeah. Taylor Swift, in the song You're Losing Me, wrote, I wouldn't marry me either, a pathological people pleaser. Lena Dunham, to me, presents as a people pleaser. Mm-hmm. Billy Joel, in his recent documentary, grew up in a very difficult home and in adulthood seemed to have gone the opposite way and says on camera, I don't need your authority to get me there. Mm-hmm. So could you talk to us about, you cover different types of people pleasers, like sub genius of people pleasers. Yeah. But what in essence marks a people pleaser, and how do you know if you are one?
Well, I love actually that you started with the success of it, because it works. For many of us, it allows us to be really good at what we do, to be very charismatic, to be likable, to be charming. And sometimes we need to people please, whether it's to please our boss, to get a paycheck, or it's for safety. And when we're doing it all the time, when we're doing it unnecessarily, in situations and in relationships that we're actually safe, that's when it becomes exhausting and not sustainable. But it's certainly not something to shame ourselves for. And it's very useful in some ways to be adaptable and to, I imagine, as an interviewer, like being hyper attuned to who you're interviewing, it's a useful skill. I think what makes it the line that crosses from when is it useful and when is it becoming not
a
useful?
Hindrance?
Is when we're carrying it unconsciously into situations where we don't need it, and we are abandoning ourselves in the process. Like,
I think but I think this is the key, right? Because I think many people, myself included, product of a difficult home. Mm-hmm. Now that bred in me certain traits that I recognize in your book: perfectionism.
Yes.
Learning how to read a room and keep the peace.
Yes.
Putting the needs and the emotional needs and wants of the parent far ahead of my own. Yeah. And I do think this does something fundamentally to the child, where it rewires the brain and your emotional regulations to the point where it's really. It takes you a minute when you get into adulthood to say, wait a minute, why am I so intent on making sure everybody else is happy and satisfied before me, even when it comes to your closest relationship? So what is the alarm bell that you find goes off in your clients that brings them to you?
I, in the book, talk about how I grew up in a home that had addiction and volatility, and I was on edge a lot of the time, and that was very useful and necessary. And monitoring my dad's moods and being hypervigilant and being good and easy and perfect. And then growing up getting into adulthood, that tendency was still there. It was just now changing form. So it was overanalyzing social interactions. It was avoiding conflict, avoiding hard conversations because I didn't want someone to think I disagreed with them. So I would just morph my opinion to match theirs and feeling like I just didn't know who I was because I had been people pleasing up until that point. And
how old were you, Meg?
In that moment of recognition?
Yeah.
I would say graduating college was a big moment. So like 21, 22 was a moment of recognition for me. I have a scene where I talk about I'm in the towel aisle of Bed Bath & Beyond, which I think is out of business now. However,
yeah,
I was looking for towels and trying to decide what's my favorite color. I don't even know what my favorite color is because I just had been so hyper tuned to, in my case, my dad. Whatever he wants works because I just didn't want to upset him. Upsetting him, he could flip like a switch, and it was just easier to go along with what he wanted. But that doesn't just go away when we grow up. It comes with us.
Exactly.
But in some instances, like childhood or an abusive relationship or some toxic sort of situation, we need that. But our bodies don't get the cue that we don't need that anymore.
Right. Because in childhood, it's a survival mechanism.
That's
it's an adaptation. It gets you out of the house.
Yeah.
You get out of the house and you get into the real world.
Yes.
And your parents aren't running the show anymore. You're dysfunctional, whatever. And then you realize, oh, what I think and feel does matter. It should matter. And I completely relate to you, and some of the clients in your book who are, I guess, under pseudonyms here, but the idea that a simple disagreement could the people pleaser can so easily catastrophize that. Yeah. That a simple disagreement equals the end of a friendship or a relationship. Can you talk about that and how one begins to unwind that thinking?
I'm so glad you pulled that out because that to me is one of the core things that I will look for when I'm working with a client who is in this people-pleasing, fawn response way of being, and is something that I've really worked through and continue to work through myself. Conflict avoidance. We are avoiding tension, disagreement, the other person perceiving us as disagreeing. And I think of this through a few angles. The first one being, many of us who resonate with this, we didn't witness conflict being dealt with in a very regulated way.
100%. You actually write in the book that you see conflict and never resolution in the home.
Exactly.
Fighting and no way of fighting in a healthy way, a constructive way, disagreements as a way to get to a better place, not a place of just silence.
Of course. And so it makes a lot of sense. If we're only witnessing conflict in extreme ways, whether that's yelling, slamming doors, silent treatment, passive aggression, and it's never acknowledged, the parent doesn't say after the fact, hey, I'm so sorry I yelled and that was my fault. That wasn't you. When we're left alone to make sense of it, we learn to blame ourselves. And that's how we make sense of what just happened is we say something's wrong with me. I'm bad. I did something wrong here. And over time, when that happens again and again and again, it really does form the belief of it goes from I did something bad to I am bad. I am bad at my core. And so of course, as adults, if we didn't witness conflict being handled in a healthy way, we didn't witness repair, we learn the following belief. Conflict equals unsafe. Conflict means love will be taken away from me. So what are we going to do? Avoid it, of course. And it makes so much sense. And it's certainly nothing to shame ourselves for. Where the healing begins is that's an unconscious thing that's happening. Okay. There's a threat. I'm avoiding the conflict so that I can feel safe. And that was true then. But when we're now adults and we're with our best friend that feels really safe, or we're with a partner that feels really safe, that belief that if I get into conflict with someone, it's over, it's ruined, there's no going back, that belief is still there, but it may not be true in this situation. And by avoiding conflict, we're also kind of keeping people at a distance. because we're
I
not
love
letting
this part of your book.
us.
I love this part of your
Thank
book.
you.
How people pleasing, in fact, isn't great for other people, whether they're people just you encounter moving through the world or really in your closest relationships. I mean, when I got out of it through a lot of therapy,
Yeah.
I still can catch myself in it. And I
Course.
have to really push through it and say, no, sometimes having a conflict with someone is healthy because you're acknowledging the actual thing that is happening. But I have friends who I know are still very much in like gear one. They are stuck in their childhood default crouch of people pleasing. And I have to tell you, being on the opposite side of it, you're like, this is exhausting because that person,
Yes.
you can see them hyper attuned to every little
Yes.
micro expression and being immediately apologetic. And you're just like, oh my God, this is just, it's a conversation.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I had a book signing last night. I was in Boston and there was a Q&A portion and a woman raised her hand and said, I've done a lot of work on this and I feel I've moved through a lot of these tendencies, but I have a friend who is very much still stuck in it and I'm now on the receiving end. And I think this work of healing these people pleasing tendencies is so important for both sides of the relationship, because avoiding conflict, reassurance seeking, only seeing people when you're on because you don't want them to see you as imperfect, it can put quite a strain on a relationship. And it really does keep people at a distance. I love what you just said of conflict. It's saying, it allows for seeing just what is. It's allowing to see reality. And I also think it's just allowing for both people to be themselves. If there's a little bit of friction or difference sometimes, it just means that there's enough safety in the relationship for both people to exist as they are. And what a great thing that one person doesn't feel the need to contort themselves to match what they think the other person expects of them. So
Yeah.
it's something to be celebrated. And I want to be clear, I'm talking here about like healthy friction in healthy
Right.
relationships, not cyclical abusive conflict where nothing's ever getting resolved. We're talking like healthy conversations here. Yeah.
Well, I think also part of it, when you begin to move through, okay, I don't like this. This doesn't feel comfortable. And I know I got wired sort of incorrectly due to my environment. One of the things that I think is, I'd love for you to talk, if there's a sort of behavioral, like a cognitive behavioral therapy means of doing this. But I think for a lot of people, what's very difficult, it's difficult for anybody, period. But if you're a people pleaser, it's the worst. Learning to sit in very uncomfortable feelings.
Yes.
Like, I'm angry at you and I know I'm right to be angry at you and I'm just going to sit through it. Or you might be angry at me and that's cool. I can take it, but I'm just going to deal with it. Can you talk about how you learn to just sit with uncomfortable emotion without feeling the need to respond immediately and try to make it all better?
Oh, I love everything you're saying. You're so attuned to the heart of this.
I did the work, I'll tell you that.
You're like, I know, I'm attuned. Discomfort is increasing our tolerance for discomfort in a slow way. And emphasis on slow because is the most important practice in this. Because when we are hyper vigilant of people's emotions, we're hyper attuned to them, we kind of metabolize their emotions as our own. And so their disappointment becomes our discomfort. And their disappointment becomes our guilt. And it just, their emotions become our emotions, and there's no separation between outer world and inner world. And so we feel discomfort because we're sensing their moods, and we think, oh my gosh, I need to do something about this. So I will say sorry. I will say, are you mad at me? I will be helpful to you to just alleviate this tension, because people pleasing says, I can't feel good until I know we're good. And I can't feel okay until you're okay. There's this like enmeshment with our worlds. And so what's really important to know is that for anyone that's people pleasing, when I hear someone come and to my office, and they'll often have this urgency. And I was that person too. Fix me. Tell me what is wrong with me so I can get out of here in 4 to 5 sessions. That urgency is dysregulation.
Interesting.
We can't be, how do I want to phrase this? If we were actually in danger, we wouldn't have the time to take 3 deep breaths. So by slowing down, by taking a pause, by putting the phone down instead of immediately saying, "Are you mad at me?" or starting to get lost in the spiral, by slowing down and taking a pause, we are communicating to our body that we're safe, because we couldn't do that if we were actually threatened. We wouldn't have time. And so urgency is dysregulation and slowness is safety. And so anytime we can remember or catch ourselves and notice ourselves, I have an acronym in the book called NICER. And the first step is notice what's happening. And just that's already a win, because we're bringing something from the unconscious, meaning we were doing it without realizing it. We're now bringing it into the conscious. That is already healing it, because we're doing something new. So that's always the first step. Notice it. Notice that it's happening. Acknowledge it.
Meg, what do you advise a client who really is, I almost think of this as something, as you were saying, when you get to quote unquote safety, like emotional safety, intellectual safety, you can breathe. There does seem to almost be this evolutionary misfiring in people pleasers, which is sort of like, if I don't fix this now, if something is broken in any given relationship and I don't address it now, it might fester and get worse, and I might lose this person. How do you get somebody to talk themselves down from that and to realize how a sort of healthy back and forth can work?
I first want to say it's so understandable, because we feel abandonment looming. Oh gosh, if we get into a conflict or they don't like me, I will be abandoned. It's very black or white, because survival is very black or white. And I think what's really important to understand, and this is why it's slow work, and when we're dysregulated and when we're feeling urgent, that is so annoying to hear. It's like, there's got to be a tool. What's the secret tool? What's the secret thing that you're hiding from me that's going to fix all of this? But it really is the slowness. And I say this because many people-pleasing tendencies are born from complex relational trauma. And I can simply define that, which is, it's when we feel unsafe, unheard, unseen, unloved in relationships that are supposed to feel safe. And it's these kind of micro moments of feeling that way again and again and again and again, often in the caregiving system. But it doesn't just have to be caregiving system. It can be in adulthood too, and it can be just within society and the oppressive systems that we're living in anyway. But because this is happening again and again and again over time, and over that period of time, it's creating this need to people please, this need to please. Because that's true, and it took that long to form these beliefs, we need time as well to create counter evidence of relationships being safe and us being safe in order for those beliefs to be rewired. We can't trick ourselves out of trauma. We have to show ourselves over time that we're safe, that we can have a hard conversation and they didn't abandon us, that we can say no and the world didn't stop turning. When we can show ourselves that we're safe, that is the healing. And it is so subtle. And that I don't want that to feel discouraging. I actually want it to feel hopeful, because it's happening now. Like, just by noticing these tendencies, just by taking a deep breath, we're already doing it. How wonderful.
Right. And I think one of the key things too is and I think it's so simple almost as to be painfully obvious, but for those who grew up in difficult homes, who maybe didn't get that reinforcement throughout their entire childhood and adolescence, if you cannot have a healthy conflict with someone without that person exploding on you or running the other way, that person's got the problem. That person just did you a favor by exiting stage right.
Yeah. I always like to say, I'm so glad you're bringing this up. It goes two ways. Both people need to be committed to having understanding and closeness from conflict or disagreement.
And to being open to the idea, humble enough that you could be very wrong.
100%.
That you're interested in a dialogue, a back and forth, not a prosecution in which one person is right and one is wrong.
That's right. A curiosity. What are you feeling? What am I feeling? How can we understand each other better? There's something we're not getting. Where can we see each other? That it takes two people to do that, certainly. And
of equal emotional intelligence.
For sure.
Right? Yes.
And so what I always like to say is, okay, conflict will either lead to closeness or clarity. And so we may not have we may realize in being in disagreement with someone or in going through something challenging with someone, it could be grieving a parent and you realize your partner's not there for you, or you are struggling and your friend isn't supporting you in the way that you'd want them to be. That may not lead to closeness if you say, hey, I was disappointed. I was really expecting you to be there. They may say, I don't know. What are you talking about? I don't know what to tell you. And there's defensive. Closeness may not happen, but we may get clarity. Okay, they're not able to give me this. Now what? What do I want to do with this information?
I always say information, whether you feel like it's bad information, all information is good information, I think.
Absolutely. That's how I feel about emotions too. Emotions, they're communicating, they're messengers. So to your point earlier about anger, many of us are taught anger's bad because we're not witnessing it in healthy ways. And when we feel anger, I don't know anyone who was told growing up, honey, you're angry. Good job. That's so great.
No, the only person I was told who got to be angry, my mom.
No, exactly.
It was great when she was angry.
The most dysregulated person, everyone's working hard to keep them happy.
Yeah.
That's the job of the family members. But anger, just like all of our emotions, it's carrying information. Something here isn't right. That's what anger is telling us. Something's unjust. I have a need that isn't being met. How we react to that anger, whether it's yelling or whether it's going on a walk instead, that's our responsibility. But the anger itself is just simply information.
It's a feeling. And I think to castigate oneself for having a feeling it's pointless. It's telling you something. And if you can get to the point where you can allow that emotion to ride its way through you, no matter how difficult it is, that's the best way to let it go through you and then take the information when your emotional system has settled down.
I love that. And the irony is it actually, when we resist it, it prolongs it.
Yeah.
Because the emotion is still there, but now we have shame and more anxiety, or we're angry that we're angry, or we're anxious that we're anxious, and we're adding these layers of tension. And that's human because we're trying to protect ourselves from this discomfort of our emotions. But to just say, okay, if one practice just to start with this, just label it. What is this that I'm feeling? The primary emotion. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling anxious. And then you might start shaming yourself for it, or there might be these extra things added. Okay. But naming what the underlying emotion is such a great place to start and allows us to really be with what's happening.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. And Meg, we at The Nerve are often very skeptical of books that are under the self-help genre, but this one we heartily recommend at The Nerve. Are You Mad at Me by Meg Josephson. You can get it now. Thanks for joining us today, Meg.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks again to Kinsey and Meg for joining us on today's Nerve. And as always, thanks to all of you. And that does it for our Friday edition. But remember, tomorrow we drop a whole new mini. Oh my God. If this person shows her face on social media on Monday, with no shame, we have not done our jobs, or this person is just that impervious. You know what? I'm going to say we did our jobs, because we took this thing apart. Three of us were watching it and annotating to whatever. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. So remember, the mini drops 10 a.m. on Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern, over on YouTube. For the moment, that's the only place you can get it, YouTube. So join us there for our weekly coffee date. Some of you on the other side of the world, you'll be having some cocktails. I'm joining you that way in spirit. So we'll see you there at the mini on Saturday, and then again on next week's full show Tuesday at The Nerve, where you will never guess what we're about to say next.